Hey guys, Andy here. So I've done a few head-to-heads recently where it's been some of the big flagships shooting it out. Today we have, I guess you could call them both budget. Well, one's kind of mid-range and one's budget. Phones going head-to-head. There's a lot of talk. When people talk about the flagships, they say, you want to get yourself a OnePlus 6T. When people talk about the OnePlus 6T, people say, you want to just get the Pocophone. So I thought it'd be quite interesting to put the OnePlus 6T head-to-head with the Pocophone F1. So here we have my OnePlus 6T on the left with the Snapdragon 845. It's got an octa-core CPU, Adreno 630 and 6GB of RAM. And on the right is a surprisingly similar Snapdragon 845, octa-core CPU, Adreno 630 GPU and also 6GB of RAM. So the Pocophone, you can get it for about £300, the OnePlus 6T is about £500, so it should be a relatively interesting head-to-head. We're going to kick things off with the fingerprint sensor test, but I have a small problem in that the OnePlus 6T seems to keep forgetting fingers and thumbs and things. So definitely this thumb is registered, it's just not working. So we'll have to, you can see it works there with my right finger, so what we'll do, it might confuse things slightly because I'm going to swap their sides briefly so that I can access a working finger to the fingerprint sensor. They're both very quick, I'm not sure I can see first and second place there. I think the Pocophone just has it. As quick as the OnePlus 6T is, I think the Pocophone does have the fingerprint sensor test. On to Angry Birds opening test. And we see the OnePlus 6T getting off to quite a good lead initially. And yet it's in seemingly quite a long way ahead of the Pocophone, which is odd because they've both got almost identical specs. So I don't quite know what happened there. We're going to clear both memories, start them both up again, and this time it's a much closer run thing. The OnePlus 6T, just has it. We're going to go one more just because I'm kind of intrigued as to how the Pocophone seems to be speeding up. And it is going to be the OnePlus 6T still just. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened on the first run. The second and third almost dead heats, but that one does go to the OnePlus 6T. Then we'll move on to the actual benchmarking. I'm using Geekbench 4 these days, well, still, really. Obviously you can use things like Antutu. I just happened to have chosen this one some time back. It was recommended, so off I went with it. It does take quite a long time now though, so we'll skip ahead in the video to the very end. And the results are coming in now. And as you'd expect with such similar phones, spec-wise, they are very similar scores. I mean, technically the Pocophone's won that, but I think as far as the results, I have to put that as a draw. I mean, there's literally only 50 points in it. So I will put that as a draw. It's not worthy of one over the other. We're moving outside now to test the GPS on both devices. And the OnePlus 6T has a lock almost straight away. Now I have to cut out 37 seconds for us to get to the end where we see finally the Pocophone F1 get a GPS fix. You do then see it gradually comes back down to a half decent accuracy. So we're going to head back indoors to test the speakers on these devices. I've got my sound meter in the middle and we're going to start with some M&M.
Tell me where to go, tell me what to do. I'll be right there for you. Tell me what to say, no matter if it's true. I'll say it all for you. Tell me what to do. I'll be right there for you. Tell me what to say, no matter if it's true. I'll say it all for you, for you, for you, for you, for you.
I used to be the type of kid that would always think the sky is falling. I used to be the type of kid that would always think the sky is falling. Why am I?
This is my legacy, 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 legacy.
I used to be the type of kid.
There's no guarantee, it's not up to me. We can own this legacy. This is my legacy.
It's interesting, the Pocophone's measuring 2 or 3 decibels higher, but in my actual test the OnePlus 6T basically set a new record for the levels of volume. Both quite loud. I think the OnePlus T has the edge.
essentially gave organizations like GCHQ and the NSA a free rein to go do mass surveillance.
Some of those inquiries are legitimate inquiries. The problem is
essentially gave organizations like GCHQ and the NSA a free rein to go do mass surveillance. It also overturned a lot of the rules and laws, and now we're in the situation where people are clamoring for the Googles and the Facebooks and the Twitters to
lawyers are being overwhelmed, quite frankly, with inquiries.
And when I say the OnePlus 6T has the edge, I mean kind of on sound quality. I think it was more apparent there on the podcast, so I'm going to give that one to the OnePlus 6T as well. So now we're moving on to screen brightness. I'm going to turn off adaptive brightness and crank the brightness level right the way to the top. I then come back to my white screen. I get my light meter, and I think it's visible already. So 730, the OnePlus 6T peaked on at that point, very bright. And we come over to the Pocophone, and it's in the mid 400s, high 400s. Clearly, and like I said, I think it's visible without the light meter. The OnePlus 6T does have a much brighter screen. Really quite impressive, actually, to be honest. We are going to move on, though, to the browser test. So I'm just clearing data on both devices. We'll come back and I'll use my own website for the first site to test against. Highly optimized for speed, I know that is for sure. And there we go, the OnePlus 6T loading in quite a bit quicker actually, which surprised me a little bit. So let's move on to the second website. We'll go to NFL.com. That's a lot closer. They were probably, you could argue even the Pocophones may be overtaken, but I think that was pretty much a dead heat. We'll go on to the third website, which will be The Verge. And the OnePlus 6T, I mean, not a huge amount, but I would award that to the OnePlus 6T. So it's been a fairly dominant display by the OnePlus 6T. I'm sure I'm going to get a bit of hate from Pocophone F1 owners over the Geekbench tie, but I just think on the scale of things, where it can be going from anywhere from, well, 4,000 up to 10,000, for it to be only be 50 apart, I just don't think it'd be right to declare one better than the other. They're just the same. And I get on things like the browser test, we're talking milliseconds, but it's generally only fractions of seconds that it takes us to open the browser. So I think on the sort of, when it's all proportional, I just think that's the right thing. I mean, to be fair, even if we gave that to the Pocophone F1, it's still going to be 5-2 in the favour of the OnePlus 6T. So it is quite a dominant win, 5-1 as I'm calling it. And that's what you get for your extra £200, I suppose. I mean, the screen is really quite impressive. The GPS is clearly a higher quality GPS unit. The browser and the Angry Birds 2, they're not. And the speakers, that could kind of go anyway, really. It's not really that much linked to budget. It's all linked to the internal specs, which are very similar. So there you go. Hopefully that's been interesting for you. Please do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't flame me too much for the tie in Geekbench. Let me know your thoughts though. For now, my name's Andy, and I'll catch you all again soon. Well done, and thank you for making it to the end of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, you might want to click the little fellow that should hopefully appear about here to subscribe. You may also want to check out some of my other videos, which are going to appear somewhere there. Also, come and have a look at my website, androidandy.uk. There is also a forum. Come and say hello on the forum if you've got any questions about things, or request me to review things, or anything else. Just come and have a chat on the forum.